This is just utterly ridiculous at this point. I mean, it's a sure sign that there's lack of creativity as far as putting together stories over there, man. I mean, you did all this montage, all of this, and I kind of figured something was up because they're showing Mandy in the restaurant, and oh boy is still in the locker room, and I'm thinking it's a continuity issue. I'm like, wait a minute, like something doesn't seem right. Why is she there? And then I'm putting it together. I'm like, okay, he's getting screwed over or something, or he's being sent, in the wrong direction. Being misled, and they do all that just to bring back Baywatch. I mean, I get it, but then it's so predictable that it's just dumb. So, but this angle is retarded. I don't understand why, if Tucker is the person training him, ripped off the sleeves off his blazer and the whole 9 yards that we saw last week. And I didn't put up anything because I wanted to watch this play out, because last week I had a creative spark and I sat on it. Plus I'm working on something else, right? So I said, you know what, this buys me some time, because looking at what happened last week with Otis and Tucker getting prepped for this big date. But I'll come back to that. But with Otis being trained or under the tutelage of Tucker, I just said to myself, why didn't they tie Otis's hair up in a ponytail like Tucker's, or even in a man bun, kind of like how Ziggler's is? I just think he would have looked much cooler, rather than having his hair all wet. That's just my 2 cents as far as, this week is concerned. So I'm watching Tucker work with Otis, and as soon as I saw him sit down at the table, I'm like, okay, it's going to get flipped over. We're expecting that. I was even going to expect that on this date, but I guess they figured they'd do it the week prior, so they wouldn't have to run it again. But the concept that I was thinking of as I'm watching this, I said, wait a minute, so you're training him, and then he's going back to eating steak with his hands? Okay, cool. But I said to myself, I said, damn, wouldn't it have been a great idea, aka what I would have done, was, you see Otis getting ready, table flips over, right? You swing the camera, and it's Lacey Evans standing there, all dressed up, and she's just looking at them and like, what in the blue hell, what in the devil are you two Cro-Magnons doing? And then Tucker could explain, hey, he has this big date with Mandy, and, we're trying to get him prepped. And then she can, fire back, yeah, I don't even know what you want to see in that poor thing. But you know what? Let me show you how you treat a woman. Tuck, get that table up. Let me show you a couple of things or two, fellas. And then after that, you don't have to say anymore. You can cut to Michael Cole explaining what we just saw, as he does, as per Mr. McMahon. And that would be the end of it. Then you would know that she's going to give him some style and some grace and some etiquette, right? Then you could come back to the date. The reason why I delayed this concept is because I wanted to see if they were going to automatically have Mandy do something heelish. They're basically just playing off of what I mentioned weeks ago, which is, these little unhappy accidents, let's call them, miscommunications. And once again, as I stated weeks ago, we don't see Mandy say anything. I'm sure Dolph, lied and we're gonna find that out next week. But now we get a depressed dude, and I still don't even understand like why you're just not approaching her. At least throw the flowers on the table and bounce. Or if you do that, we already know what happens if he does it, so I'm not gonna even go into that. So let me get back to my concept. So now we're at the date. Let's say Mandy does something heelish while they're on the date. Maybe Otis spills something. I don't know, whatever. And then you're able to now crowbar in Lacey Evans the following week. Or even if you want to bring her on the date and she's playing, back, walking behind. I mean, it just would have been such a cool concept for him to walk into the restaurant with, Tuck and Lacey, and they just play the back. But there she is. Go ahead, go get him, kill her, or whatever. He goes over, sits down. I don't know, what they're going to do. I'm not going to think that far for you guys. It goes awry. Lacey steps up. If she's not going to do it that day, today, could have waited till next week. She approaches Mandy, and then instead of them automatically getting into a match, then you would have Sonya step up to protect her. That sets up Sonya and Lacey, either for next week on SmackDown or something that's built up. They'd have a match, maybe two. Then Mandy would get involved, and then it'd be Lacey and Mandy. Then that can segue into some a tag team where you bring back Dana Brooke, or you bring in Naomi or Mella. It just makes more sense to me. But, common sense is usually not that common these days, as we see in this universe. The continuity is so bad over there that they never even picked up on Carmella's beef with Sonya and Mandy from, I believe it's from over the summer. When they right around the time when they were bullying Ember Moon, maybe a week or two before that, I remember I think she had a match with both of them, and they screwed her. They screwed Mella, and then Mella saw Ember, I believe it was, and she told her, tell them that I got something waiting in front of them, something like that. And then they just walked away from that whole thing. It was kind of as if Mella had disappeared. She was already working with Truth, so that wasn't the issue. And they just just threw that whole thing under the ring, and it was just forgotten about. So, and I bring that up to say, if they went with this storyline that I proposed, then you could bring in Carmella, because as the story builds up, remember, it would happen next week. Sonya would step in, then it'd have a match, then it would possibly lead into another match, and then maybe it goes 3 weeks in or 2 weeks in. By then, Super Showdown's already done. If Bayley's going to face Carmella, or if she's going to lose against Naomi the following week, it's still, it gives that room to breathe, so that if they do get to tag teaming and they don't go with Dana Brooke, then they could go with Carmella teaming up with Lacey to get back at these two. And she could even cut a promo every time I deal with these two, they're always an issue. So, tonight we solve the problems, Lacey and I. Something to that effect. So, I mean, they're going into that typical realm that I saw already on Raw, which is becoming a turnoff. But it is what it is. Like I said before, and I will continue to say, I wish both of those women success as they try to break out of the cliches of bad creative all around, it seems like, these days. So I'll leave on that note. And I'm, steadily staying with this storyline, I guess, for a little while longer. as I've already mentioned, I've already dumped on Raw. And I'm starting to realize now, I watch a lot of different federations. A lot. And I noticed that the WWE is the only federation that bothers me. Facts. Personal facts. It's the only federation that I watch that I have an issue with, that I'm always, scratching my beard and going like, what? So I'll leave it at that.